Ladies and gentlemen, you know what's fantastic? Gaming. You know what's less fantastic? The prices as well as the availability for PC gaming hardware. Well, I say PC gaming hardware, but this is also an issue that has affected consoles. The PlayStation 5 as well as the Xbox series of consoles has not had the usual price cut that you would expect for this point in their life cycle. If anything, Microsoft have announced a massive price hike for the Xbox Series S and X. The PlayStation 5 has also gone up in price. Let's not even get started on the PS5 Pro or especially even the Switch 2. But in this video, I want to focus on a piece of news that stems from DigiTimes, and their report is insinuating that we're going to see a 10 to 15% increase in prices for RTX 50 series GPUs, with the 5090 being almost certainly the hardest hit, but also AI focused cards. Now the AI one, I suspect many of you aren't so impacted by, but even so, the RTX 50 cards are probably going to be, well, not exactly ideal for many of you. And anyway, so what are the reasons for this? Well, one, of course, is just TSMC and the prices that have been going up there, availability for the manufacturing process. Basically, everyone wants to use TSMC. And I hope in the future, though it's somewhat outside the remit of this video, it's a little bit outside the scope, Intel do seem to be doing better with its own manufacturing. Hopefully they become very competitive, because ultimately that's a really good thing for the industry. The other thing, of course, are tariffs. Now, there's actually some good news here. Just today, the White House have announced a trade deal with China in Geneva, and basically it seems like it's only going to be happening or agreed upon for 90 days, but the price tariffs are going to be cut significantly within that time. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with the whole tariff situation, because I can say one thing and then 2 days later it just completely and utterly changes. And obviously this has just been announced pretty recently, so how well this actually affects things in the future, it's quite difficult to say. The other problem is, even if, let's just hypothetically say that the tariff became 0 tomorrow, it was announced, well, unfortunately, that still takes quite a long time to trickle into the supply chain. What tends to happen is prices go up really fast, but when they go down a little bit slower. It's almost like they have a rocket ship to take them up into orbit, and then when they're coming back down to terra firma, they have like lots of hot air balloons attached to them, and occasionally one of those hot air balloons might pop and you might see the prices crash a little bit and then kind of go up and down. It's quite frustrating. Hopefully AMD will help to brace this in the future with the RX 9000 series, but honestly, even those prices haven't been ideal, and let's not get started on certain other processors and chips. It's been really crazy. Certain CPUs in the Zen 5 lineup, like the 9950X3D, at least in the UK, there were big shortages, and some of that, of course, is also demand, with Intel not exactly being super competitive at the moment. But the good news, actually, ironically, with all of this is Intel have announced a price cut. I think it was a 265K, and this is potentially wrong, but I think it was like $100 off, which actually makes them a lot more competitive and perhaps more compelling. But getting back to RTX 50, 15% increase in prices, quite frankly, sucks. Obviously, this is going to be also somewhat dependent on the region of the world that you're living in, but I'll be very interested to see what happens with the RTX 50 prices, honestly. I've had a few friends who have recently managed to procure RTX 5080s as well as 5090s, and they kind of felt guilty of spending all that money on an RTX 50 GPU. Let's just face it, they're a lot of money. On the other hand, maybe they made a good decision to jump in early. All I know is I very much hope RTX 60 gets off to a better start. Obviously, I don't think we're exactly expecting the flagship GPUs to launch at a lower MSRP than the likes of the 5090, but hopefully things become more stable, or Nvidia eventually launches the RTX whatever, the Super series or what have you, to become a little bit more stable with likes of the RTX 5080 Super. Speaking of RTX 50 graphics cards, let's speak about the RTX 5050, shall we? It's actually been confirmed, quote unquote, by EEC. Now, of course, GPUs can be filed under this, or rather names can be filed under the EEC, and then something doesn't actually launch. That's not exactly uncommon. Nonetheless, Maxsun are preparing multiple variants of RTX 5050 and also a bunch of other cards like the 5080s as well. I won't list all of them. I will give credit to Olrak29 actually for finding this on his research, but we know that these cards are going to be outfitted with 8 GB of GDDR memory. Unfortunately, we don't know the specifications because they are not confirmed here, other than the fact it's 8 GB. I do remember Coppertite 7 Kimmy, though, in March actually announced the specifications for this card. Now, obviously, something could have changed within that time period, because sometimes Nvidia do change specifications, but it's based allegedly on GB207-300-A1. As for the number of CUDA cores, well, basically it seems that the performance is going to be 50% of the RTX 5060. So the 5060 has 3840 FP32s, and this goes down to 2560, which, fun fact, is actually the same number of CUDA cores, albeit with a very different architecture, as the GTX 1080s. It's going to be kind of funny to see those compared against one another. No prices, of course, at this point. I suspect it's going to definitely be a budget card. The RTX 5060 has an MSRP of $299, although we all know what's going on with the MSRPs at the moment. It's actually just really frustrating, guys. I'm curious to hear what you guys are planning to do, given the prices at the moment. Like, have you managed to just jump on? The used market, and I've said this in a few videos, at least in the UK, is like, it really is just absolutely crazy. Like, sometimes you can find some really good deals, then a week or two later, yeah, just good luck. So with any luck, things become a lot more affordable, although I don't know how long that's actually going to take. I think, if anything, if you have a really nice RTX 40 series card, or of course the equivalent in AMD hardware, I wouldn't really blame you just sticking with what you've got. If you have, like, for example, an RTX 4090, there's definitely a big upgrade to jumping to the 5090, but let's just be honest, it's not like the 4090 is going to be struggling with any game released in the next year or two anyway, so maybe it's a good time just to hold off and then just kind of bide your time. With that said, apologies for not being on camera for today, but as I said, working on a couple of things, but normal service shall hopefully resume by the next video. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.